Welcome into CBS Sports Presents Numbers Don't Lie, powered by Sofascore, the show where we talk the biggest games and the biggest names. Witty, the Champions League is back, baby. Michael Lahoud, Chris Wittyngham here, and it gets no bigger than the knockout playoff round. And we're going to do a little bit something different, right? We're going to introduce one of our newest tools, the Oracle, which is an AI tool that helps predict what's going to happen in the Champions League. So the World Cup has maybe Paul the Octopus. We have our own Paul the Octopus called the Oracle. So thank you to the good people at Sofascore. Now, when you look at the upcoming matches, right, the biggest one that's slated is Jose Mourinho's Benfica versus Jose Mourinho's old club, Real Madrid. I mean, how do you think that this is going to go, and what do you make of the Oracle in this?
Well, let's first off remind ourselves that Benfica lost their first 4 games of the league phase. They won 3 of their last 4 to get through, and of course the famous Anatoly Trubin game where he scores with the header of the goalkeeper coming forward. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this matchup, and then it's a rematch of that very same game. Real started the competition very well, but they have fallen off. Obviously, Xabi Alonso gets sacked, and now Arbeloa takes over. I think it's interesting to compare that last game of the league phase where Benfica were desperate for it. They went for it. I imagine they'd take a complete opposite approach because they attacked Real Madrid. They went after it. We know that's not how Jose likes to play these sorts of games. No. I imagine it's much more cagey and much more defensive. You look overall on the season so far, obviously Mbappe is having an incredible Champions League with the 13 goals so far.
Yeah, look, he is on the cusp of breaking Cristiano Ronaldo's all-time record of 17 goals. You know what that would mean to him, given that that's his idol. But look at the drop-off here, right?
Yeah.
Jude Bellingham, when they won the Champions League, Rodrigo is a big part of it as well. Last time they won, I mean, Jude Bellingham was Mr. Aura, right? He was star boy. This season, injuries and just loss of form, big problem, because typically if you stop Mbappe, you stop Real Madrid. Now, when we talk more about this match, you know, the big storyline that I remember is Andreas Schjelderup as well. He was one of the heroes in that match. Now, you just can't score goals. You got to be able to get people who assist the goals. And when you look at Real Madrid, the person that needs to stand up and be accounted for is Vinny Jr. I mean, just to see him be their leader in assists, that's an eyebrow raiser, because that tells me he is learning how to play with the Kylian Mbappe in the Champions League.
And how to contribute in other ways beyond just scoring goals. I think he is starting to find a little bit of that goal-scoring form, but realistically, this comes down to what does Benfica have in their locker? What does Jose Mourinho have in terms of game plan to try and shut this down with Real Madrid? Because obviously this is so much about him and his Benfica. When he took over, he gets handed this very difficult situation to try and qualify out of the competition, and he managed to get it done. And so now you look at the players, obviously will have their role to play, but this is all about the manager in the dugout and what he can cook up. And obviously there is this idea that he knows how to handle these sort of cup ties, these one-off occasions. But realistically, over the course of the last few seasons, he has not always delivered in games like this where you know he's going to set out to defend. So the question is, can the resistance of Benfica hold over 2 legs against this Real side?
The mind games have already started, because going into it, the Trubin goal, Mourinho already has that in the tunnel when you walk out. And he said this: we're going to forecast what the Oracle thinks is going to happen. He said, beware of Real Madrid. They are a wounded animal right now. So looking at the forecast, most likely result, man, is the Oracle a Benfica fan?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, 43% chance to win. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it probably has something to do with the fact that Benfica so thoroughly dominated them in that league phase game. If you watch that game, Benfica were miles better than Real Madrid. Now, in terms of likely outcomes, we're expecting this to be fairly low scoring. Either 1-0 or 1-1 is the most likely result for this game. And that honestly tracks with what I think Benfica will try and do. The question is does that effort actually produce what we think it will? Does it actually turn out to be that if Benfica sits 10 men behind the ball and defends, is that actually going to produce the outcome that they want? I actually kind of have a feeling that Real Madrid are going to swat them aside over these 2 legs. I would expect a 3-1 or a 3-0 victory in the first leg.
Yeah, I think the first goal is going to be massive, because if Real Madrid concede that first goal, their character, or lack thereof, that we've seen in the Champions League at time, it will be tested. But before we move forward, let us know what you guys think, especially in the comments on YouTube, because this is the tie of the knockout round. Now, we're going to go to a team that you know very well. You were actually on the coverage in a controversial match between Juventus, and of course, it wouldn't be the Champions League if you didn't have former Serie A players, Victor Osimhen, going against a club and his former manager in Luciano Spalletti. in this tie. I mean, looking at the path to get to this moment, Galatasaray started well, right? You think of the highs against Liverpool, but in the final 4 matches, they lost their way.
Yeah, just the 1 point over the course of those games. Obviously, some difficult opposition in there. When you look at Juventus, obviously under Spalletti, they've turned things around as well. They started with no wins from 4 and have won 3 of their last 4 in order to get to this point. So it really is that interesting balance. You have Kenan Yildiz going to Turkey as well. Obviously, he will be loved for his performances for the national side, but can he make the Galatasaray fans regret not having him in the team? But you look in the overall with Galatasaray, I just don't see it sometimes from Turkish clubs in Europe. They have all the talent. They have an incredible squad of players that should, in theory, be able to compete with Juve. But I think with what Juve show in their football, they should be able to take care of business.
Yeah, I think Juve are the better team. Galatasaray has the better striker, Victor Osimhen. In the Champions League, we'll see, though. But before we go, what does the Oracle say? Because that is the big predictor. And Woody, 42% away win percentage. Wow, I didn't see that coming.
Which is a bit of a worry. I think when you look at Juve, I think they are a better team. I think they play better football. In this game, in this moment, they just played that Derby d'Italia that you mentioned, which is absolutely wild, where they lost. They went down to 10 men. They gave everything down to 10 men to try and come back and win that game. And then they got to get in a plane and go to Turkey and play on 2 days rest and get something from this game. I actually wouldn't be surprised. I might call this an upset in the first leg, maybe a 2-1 or something like that in the favor of Galatasaray, but I think Juve would get it done over the 2 legs.
Look, there's going to be Nigerians everywhere, especially in the Osimhen household. If he scores, they're going to say, thank you, Chris Wittyngham, calling this. But let's take our talents to France, right? Because this hasn't been the Monaco of seasons past. Monaco not up to snuff, but they're here in the knockout playoff round, some big injuries, and they kind of just didn't get it done. I mean, this was a difficult path, though. From match day 2 on, those are some big teams.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that game against Manchester City. They rebounded well, but they have fallen off massively, even since this Champions League campaign started. They actually beat PSG in Ligue 1 play back in November, but this team is unrecognizable. I think they've really fallen off. They've taken a step backwards. We know PSG have been waiting until around January, February to start kicking it into gear. They destroyed Marseille in domestic play. I wouldn't be surprised. Last year, it was 10-0, I believe, over the 2 legs against Stade Brest. I wouldn't be surprised if it was something similar.
Yeah, now I want to see what the Oracle says about this, because if it predicts an upset, I'm going exit stage left, because I don't see that happening. And thank God I'm not going crazy, because I'm surprised that's not 90%, given that you talk about a wounded animal, PSG coming off that shock loss to Rennes.
I think we're in here.
Okay,
I think we're in the
thank you.
4-1, 4-0 kind of range. They're saying most likely is 2-1. I don't know. I think you're in the 3s and the 4s, in my view, with PSG going into this.
Yeah, and keep an eye on this. Luis Enrique, he knows how to get this reaction out of his players. He singled out Ousmane Dembélé for calling out his team. So I expect a full reaction. Now, I'm going to go something close to my heart, right? Borussia Dortmund versus Atalanta. This is a tough match to call. We were talking about doing a preview and a prediction of where this could go. Borussia Dortmund, well documented to be good at home. The numbers don't lie. They've only lost 2 of their last 22 home matches in the UEFA Champions League. Unfortunately for them, it's home and away. Now, Atalanta, they have been one of the underdogs of the Champions League. So how do you see this going, Woody?
Well, I think it is kind of fascinating. We look at the Sofascore rating between the 2 teams, almost exactly dead even. This, for me, and obviously on the basis of the placement of the league plays and the portion of the draw this is in, this is the biggest coin flip, I would say, of all of the knockout round ties. You look at an Atalanta side who I just don't know. The thing that I worry about them is ceiling, because I think they're consistently very good. They've been much better under Palladino in Serie A. But Raspadori is dealing with a bit of an injury. They lost Ademola Lookman in January. I wonder if they have the same ceiling to perform at a really high level. Whereas I think with Borussia Dortmund, with Guirassy, if he delivers a good performance, I think you look at Bellingham and Mecha midfield, Adeyemi out wide. There are talents in this team that I think are a level above Atalanta, but I don't think this Dortmund side is very consistent. We look at the numbers at home. You mentioned that home run that they have. They are favored quite considerably to win that first leg, with the most likely outcome being in that sort of 2-1 sort of range. Otherwise, it would be a 1-all draw. But I think you look at what Dortmund have delivered so far in this competition, and you wouldn't be surprised if they won this home game.
Small thing to keep an eye on with that, and that might change what the Oracle thinks once the team is confirmed, is there's injuries in the back line. No Nico Schlotterbeck, hamstring injury. I think Borussia Dortmund have only 1 fit senior center back to go up against Atalanta, so that could tweak. But look, let's talk about Wednesday's matches as well, because we're going to breathe through what the forecast is. You and I could talk about the Champions League forever, right?
So let's get into Wednesday then, because obviously we showed some of these big games that are coming up on Tuesday. There's some really good ones, though, over the course of Wednesday. So let's start first with what the Oracle has for us in terms of first leg. Some of these other games. Let's start with Bodø Glimt. Usual host of this program, Nico Cantor, is not here because he's in Bodø for this game. And we're absolutely thrilled for him because I have loved the Bodø Glimt story over the course of the Europa League last season, the Champions League they made the semifinal of the Europa League last year. It is amazing that they're even here in the first place, and they're actually predicted as quite significant underdogs. I don't know, artificial turf in the Arctic Circle, Inter play that crazy game on Saturday. I give Bodø a little bit of a chance here.
Yeah, I would love to see these numbers go way up, right? But we'll see how it goes. I agree with that. Atleti, they are the will they, won't they team across the Champions League. I mean, they hammered Barcelona. That game could have been 10-0, maybe 10-1 if you ask a Barcelona fan. But I don't know how they're going to do in the Champions League because they got embarrassed at the weekend by Rayo, a team that they had beaten consistently. So I've been intrigued to see what the Oracle thinks about Atleti's Champions League match. I think it's Club Brugge.
Yeah, so and Club Brugge, I think, have been a really interesting team in the Champions League over the course of the last several seasons where, look, they're significantly favored to win this home game, and I think that's because of how good they've been. A lot of teams have gone there and thought, Real Madrid went there and thought, oh, this will be an easy game.
Wow.
It's not easy. It's not easy to go play in their place. I think in this first leg, I would not be surprised to see them carry a lead into that second leg, and the question would be by how much, and that would leave that mountain to climb potentially for Atleti.
Yeah, look, as I said before, that first goal tells you everything because when Atleti give up a goal, and especially away from home, the knees start shaking a bit. And speaking of knees shaking, I mean, Olympiacos, Bayer Leverkusen, there are times where Bayer Leverkusen, you think of the performance against Stuttgart, where they look like they were scared of their own shadow, got embarrassed. Greece is not an easy place to go play, and Olympiacos has proven that in the Champions League. And I was curious where the Oracle is going, and this is exactly where I thought, giving a 41% win percentage, or is that 41% for a draw?
For Olympiacos. For Olympiacos. The most likely result, though, is this 1-1 here, but slightly favored Olympiacos at home. I think the thing with Leverkusen, I think we know that they're a considerably more talented team. The question is, do these pieces come together? Yeah. Does Kasper Hjulmand ever figure that out? They had a nice win at the weekend, but really it's that long-term prognosis, I would say, about Leverkusen. Do you think that they could be a solid functioning collective unit in a game like this?
Yeah, I think their big focus is probably going to have to be on the Bundesliga, and it's all about scheduling where you get these games, right? Because I don't think they're deep enough to go play every 3 days, every 4 days. Speaking of a team that isn't deep enough, Newcastle United, right? Turning things around a little bit in the Premier League, the big result coming recently, but they have to go all the way to the other side of the world. And I mean, the Oracle saying that it's Newcastle United all the way through, but I don't know if it's going to be that easy and that straightforward.
Yeah, and we've seen this team really struggle in 2-game weeks. They have, though, saved their best in general for the Champions League. I think they have performed incredibly well in this competition, certainly relative to their form domestically. So I think Newcastle could get it done here. You look at Qarabağ, though, it is all about that home field advantage. They've had a couple of games where teams have gone there and they're, whoa, what have we gotten ourselves into here? And that would be the only way that they could really get something, I think, from this competition. But obviously, be sure to let us know what you think about all 8 of these knockout round ties in the UEFA Champions League. Be sure to hit that comment section on YouTube. You're watching Numbers Don't Lie, powered by Sofascore.
Hey, thanks for watching this video from Numbers Don't Lie. Be sure to catch our show every Monday at 5 p.m. on YouTube. And for news and insights from leagues all around the world, including Serie A, EFL, and all UEFA competitions, both men's and women's, don't forget to sign up for Paramount+.